Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Gedling series. This is a small district to the east of Nottingham and it only has 12 of them. Mind you, it's got some belters. Let's take a look. Welcome back to Gedling again, everybody. Now for this one I've actually got an actual public car park where I can leave the car, quite a big one actually. You can see here behind the camera you've got the recreation ground there. It's where everybody parks to go onto the park, I suppose. Now we're going to be ending at this recreation ground. I'm going the other way first because our first major landmark is a school, and in the playground of that school there's something quite amazing apparently. I can't wait to see it. This is Colwick. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Colwick, Coal Farm. Okay, I hope you're all paying attention here because this one could get just a little bit confusing. This is Colwick, located to the east of Nottingham, not far from Trent Bridge and Nottingham Racecourse, and it's the only parish of Gedling that's not connected to any other. It's also the smallest in terms of land area and the most densely populated in the borough. The village was recorded in the Domesday Book. Originally an agricultural area, this is the birthplace of Colwick cheese in the 17th century. It was a soft and creamy curd cheese, and by the 18th century it was already being made at a number of other locations. In the 19th century the village became heavily industrialised, and it still is today. Many notable firms set up here including William Lawrence & Co, Sands and Spray Burgass. Here's the confusing bit. In 1933 the western half of the parish was transferred to the city of Nottingham and the rest became part of Carlton. This brought an end to the original parish council. However, now Colwick has been reformed, but it's only a fraction of the size of the original parish. That means part of this walk and most of the really interesting bits aren't within its boundaries. I'll do my best though to make sense of what is. Oh, there's a plane here by the way. Let's fly. We start our walk on Mile End Road just to the south of the A612, the main road through Colwick into Nottingham. The A612 at this point is known as the Colwick Loop Road, and it splits the modern parish into two sections, north and south. The northern part is known as Colwick Vale, and that's where we're going first. A lot of Colwick's major historical landmarks are to the west of the village and lie within Nottingham. These include Colwick Hall, vitally important to the village's history. So too was the rectory, but that no longer stands. Rectory Road, though, does still exist. Colwick's name suggests some sort of industrial past. It's believed to mean coal farm or similar, but oddly, there's never been any coal mines in the area. The village did become heavily industrialised in the 19th century, and we'll be walking through the modern industrial estate later. Our first major landmark is St John the Baptist Church on Vale Road. Outside it is the War Memorial, a simple obelisk of Portland stone commemorating all who gave their lives in conflict. This is the only church in Colwick and it was built in 1951. However, there is a second, derelict church in the unparished part of Colwick and it's also dedicated to St John the Baptist. It's within the grounds of Colwick Hall and it was built by Sir John Byron in the 16th century. It was left to ruin in the 1930s and since then its roof has collapsed and it's now in a dangerous state. If you need to get into Nottingham city centre from here, you can easily. Next to the church is a bus stop, served by the number 44. A couple more steps and you're at the Vale Social Club. This was built in 1926 when the locals demanded the village have more in the way of social entertainment. They got their wish. A licensed premises, this came complete with traditional indoor games and facilities for both tennis and bowls at the rear. It was built 4 years after the parish hall on the other side of the road. This coincided with the arrival of the local electricity supply, and as such, this was the first place to be wired up. Its lights were switched on for the first time on the 15th of January 1925. Parish council meetings are held in this building, so that's the ideal place to leave one of these. Tick off Colwick, folks. Next is the school, which has close ties to St John the Baptist Church, hence its name. Now this school is quite famous for what it has in its playground. Don't adjust your devices, that right there is an actual plane. In 2010, the Nottingham Post reported that the school had been granted permission to use this old commercial plane as a wildlife classroom and a changing rooms. The project was the brainchild of former head teacher and plane enthusiast Chris Belton, and it was bought from an air museum in Borough-in-Furness. As you might expect, it increased the children's interest in aviation, whilst at the same time provided a cheap alternative for extra space. It's not been without its issues though. Iconic as it may be, it's been a target for graffiti vandals, but since then it's had a new paint job done by the children themselves. What a landmark! Well, that's certainly something you don't see in every schoolyard, isn't it? So now we've seen a school with a plane in its schoolyard, and also, if you remember, we saw in Smalley a train carriage in the schoolyard there. So I wonder what other forms of transport can be found in schoolyards up and down the country. Who knows? We've still got plenty more parishes to go to. Now we're going to carry on down this road and take a right turn at the end. We're actually going to go out of Colwick's parish boundaries in a moment, but it's the only way to form a circular route. Let's carry on. Vale Road is completely residential now, barring a pair of shops, so between here and the industrial estate I'm going to throw in a story. In 1844, local man William Saville murdered his wife and 3 children in Colwick Woods. The exact location was later known as Saville's Spinney. Saville was executed for his crime, but the execution was arguably more notable than the murders. A huge crowd, and I mean tens of thousands, turned up for it, resulting in a huge crush in which 12 people died moments after he was executed. Now we're at the industrial estate, and at this point we actually leave the parish boundaries for a while. None of this area falls within the boundaries of modern Colwick, but before the 1930s it would have done. The industrial estate began its life in 1918 when an Act of Parliament was passed allowing a chunk of land here to be used as such. Over the next few years, such firms as Armitage Brothers, National Benzol Co Limited, Nottingham Colwick Estates, Pure Products Limited, Soapworks, Colwick Light Railway and Trent Concrete were all established. All the roads on the estate are numbered private roads. being close to the Trent, the idea behind the estate's location was pretty simple. It was originally conceived as an inland port, which connected to Hull via the river and by extension to the North Sea. The whole idea had a name: Nottingham's Highway to the Sea. From the 1920s to the 1950s, Trent Concrete, who have been here since 1919, provided the material for the ambitious infrastructure project along the river, which included warehouses, locks, sluices, and dredging work. The scheme was generally considered a success by the 1960s, but 20 years later its function declined due to a combination of reasons, including the silting up of the Trent at Stoke Bardolph, an increase in road traffic, and the piping of North Sea oil to Colwick. Access to water traffic, though, was a valuable asset for the import of raw sugar, and that brings us to an industry which was established in England between 1912 and 1928. The largest business to set up shop on this estate was Anglo-Scottish Beet Sugar. They built a massive sugar beet factory in 1924, and by 1927 their second factory was in full production here. They employed some 500 people between September and February, a time period known as the season, when they processed beet from 1,600 farmers. Imported raw sugar was refined during the rest of the year with a much smaller staff. After making our way up Crosslands Meadow, we're now in the Colwick Rectory Recreation Ground once more. Now this clearly is a playing field and a playground these days with all the usual facilities you'd expect to find. However, there's more to it than that. This field is now almost all of the remains of the old rectory. These were its grounds and the adjoining glebe-land at its rear. The only other remaining features are a pair of wrought iron entrance gates and the drive, which are still in situ from when the building was standing. You can get to Colwick Country Park from the recreation ground. Like the industrial estate, this is not within the parish boundaries, but it was within the old Gedling Parish pre-1933. This is a 125-acre local nature reserve. The estate within which the park sits dates back to 1362, and on the other side of this lake is the house it's associated with, Colwick Hall, built in the late 18th century and now a privately owned hotel. The country park opened in 1978 with former gravel workings being landscaped and planted to form a recreational facility for Nottingham. The park has two lakes. The main lake covers 65 acres and the West Lake covers 24. Although smaller, the West Lake features the Nottingham City Open Water Swimming Centre, offers canoeing and sailing, and is also stocked with carp for fishing. A park run takes place here every Saturday morning at 9 AM, comprising one lap of the main lake and two of the West Lake. There's also a marina for mooring on the River Trent. Okay, so we are back to the beginning. Like I said, the vast majority of Colwick Country Park is not within Colwick's boundaries. It does have a very strange set, to be honest with you. So yeah, if you come here, at some points you're in Colwick, at some points you're not. You just have to know your way around the map, basically. And that's it. I've managed to dodge the rain. It's coming down now, but I can be in the safe and warm inside the car in a couple of moments' time. There you go, that's another parish down in Gedling. I couldn't help but think, given the nature of the parish boundaries here, just how short-changed the new setup left me feeling. The much more interesting part of Colwick isn't covered by them, so to make up for that, I found some pictures of the other landmarks. Shown here are some snaps of Colwick Hall, some more of Colwick Country Park, and the Colwick sluice gates on the River Trent, which would have been made as part of Nottingham's highway to the sea. That's it from me in this one though, folks. I'll see you soon in Gedling. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.